going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Today I kind of wanted to talk about some hand planes. I did a bunch of projects at work. I did this desk at home. It's really enjoyable work, and you know, the power tools are only so accurate. If you're talking like just small adjustments on, you know, drawers and doors and those kinds of things, it's impossible. Like, I've tried it and tried it and tried it. With power tools, they're not that accurate. So you know, I started going online and looking up different tools, and I found these, you know, these hand planes. I started off buying a few cheaper ones, and they didn't work out too well. You know, cheaper hand planes are kind of just thrown together, and you have to do a bunch of work to them to get them up to usable standards. So if you just go out and buy like a Nielson or a Veritas, yeah, they're a little more expensive, but they come ready to use out of the box. So, and just the Nielsons, man. So if I had to pick, and I mean, you don't need 100 planes, but if you wanted to get into table building or any kind of like furniture making, I mean, everyone has block planes, but I'm talking bench planes here. If I had to pick two, and only two, it would be this Nielson number 8, which is like 2 feet long. It's huge, but it's very necessary. You know, the longer the sole, the longer the reference surface, the more accurate it is. It does more of the work for you. And this thing cuts so nice. It's hard to describe. And the blade is just, I mean, it is massive. And they do, I mean, look at these. They're very nicely put together. Nice brass frog. Brass top caps. So if I had to pick two, it would be the number 8 for flattening panels and doing glue ups if you want to glue multiple boards together to make one big tabletop. Other than that, I mean, yeah, sometimes you could get away with the jack plane to do those things, but I don't know, it's more messing around, more checking. This has a longer sole, so you can flatten longer panels much easier. If I had to pick one more, it would be the number 4 smoothing plane. So this is good for the end, after you have all the panels glued up, and you have those little differences on the top of the wood surface. You need a much shorter sole to get to ride down into those valleys and just smooth everything up. And I think weight that must be why this thing cuts so nice. I'm gonna have to make a video sometime of how this number 8 cuts, but it's so smooth. It is so smooth. The number 4 here is all brass to give it more weight, so the tool does more of the work for you. And I actually, so I got a 50-degree frog for this, which I wish I didn't now, because I mean, it's good for exotic woods, they say, but I don't know, if you do it on pine or anything like that, it doesn't really work that well. And right now, because of COVID, they don't have 45-degree frogs, so I'm gonna have to wait. You can get into bevel up planes, and Veritas is they're from Canada. Nielson is from Maine in the US. Veritas is out in Canada, and they make a very nice plane too, except these are bevel up. And these you don't have to buy different frogs for, because you can just sharpen the blade at a different angle, and that changes your cutting angle. The beds are always at 12 degrees, and you add the bed plus your primary bevel, you add those together, and the micro bevel, if you put that on, you add all 3 of those together. That gives you your cutting angle. So the cool thing about bevel ups is that you do have that flexibility. You can resharpen them at a different angle for different uses. But if you go with Veritas, I recommend PMV11. I wouldn't go 01. I would not go A2. Especially wouldn't go 01. I got that the first time. It's impossible to sharpen. It doesn't cut very well. It's crap. PMV11 is the way to go. Now with Nielson, these are bevel down planes, so the frog is the angle in which it cuts because the bevel is down, so they have to add a chip breaker on the top to roll the shavings over. And I'm gonna do a video on sharpening, because if you don't know how to sharpen a plane blade, you probably shouldn't buy a plane. I mean, that's my opinion. You need to know how to sharpen, because if they're not sharp, they're useless. If you want to change the angle, so 50 degrees, the higher up it is for harder, more exotic woods, so you get less tear out. I like the 45 degree. I think it's more versatile. You can always close the throat down a little bit if you have to. Pull the blade back and just take off little shavings at a time, and they cut just fine. But if you wanted to change the angle, this is what you have to do. You have to loosen. There's 2 screws in the back on either side. You have to loosen those up. That will unpinch little pins that are going down. You gotta get them all the way loose. I've been wanting to do this anyway, because I don't use the jack plane that much. I mean, I got it. I don't use it. I find out I take out the number 8 before I take out the jack. I don't know why. You don't really, I don't know. I don't need it. I don't need the jack. It's nice to have, but not necessary. So now we're going to take, and if you stick with all the same brand, these are all Nielson, so all the parts are pretty interchangeable as long as the blade width is the same. Yeah, so number 8, number 4, and a block plane. Those 3 planes, just those 3. You can pretty much do whatever you want. I mean, you won't be able to like do everything, but you could make a table. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to get some pictures. Maybe put them up with the video of some of the things that I've made. And literally, I only used the number 8, the number 4, and I didn't even really use the block plane. Yeah, I think it was just these 2 planes, really. Alright, so you can see, if I hold these, one of these frogs is a 45 degree frog, and the other one is a 50. And it seems like a small difference, but you feel it. It makes a huge difference. So I'm going to put the 45 back in the plane that I use the most. And these little, I don't know what these are called, but little pins. They have a little, a little dash, little score mark on the top. You gotta line those two score marks backwards towards the receiving screw. So get those in there. But yeah, Lee Nielson, man. If you guys wanted to get into woodworking, I would save yourself the hassle and just get Lee Nielson. They make some really, really nice stuff. All their blades, every single last one of them, they don't sell anything else. All the blades are A2 steel. They're double tempered, and then they're cryogenically frozen to get them that extra mile of sharpness. And man, do they cut. They cut so nice. And they hold an edge surprisingly, like, very long. Man. Look at that thing. That thing is beautiful. It is a beast, I tell you. Holy cow, I figured it out. Alright. So here's some of the uses for these, especially the number 8. Like, most of this stuff was, like, honestly, I would say 80% of this, the fine adjustments were done with the number 8. Yeah, the number 4 a little bit, but mostly the number 8. So here's the drawing set I was given. You can see there's a little fireplace in the middle, and the fireplace is bumped forward. They wanted 2 built-ins on either side. So these are kind of the drawings that I got to go off of. They wanted... I was going to go with dovetails, but honestly, I was being rushed, and I did the dovetails on my desk by hand, but I had all the time in the world. So at work, it's all about speed, and there's a learning curve to the dovetail jig, so I didn't have time for that. So we just went with box joints for the drawers. As you can see, all the drawers there. So here's the bases. This is where the number 8 comes in handy. So all the backs or the carcasses are just made out of plywood. It's just basically a box. But the face frames, these are poplar because, boss wants to save money. I get it. I would have went with maple, but it's more expensive. So all these, as you can see, all these little edges in here on the insides of where the drawers and doors are going, these got to be square and they've got to be straight. And if they're not, it's a nightmare. And then when you make the the drawer fronts or doors, I oversize them by like 1/8 on the width and 1/8 on the height. Make them bigger, and then you take your number 8 and you stick these on a vise on a table, or a woodworking vise, and you just shave them down and check them, shave them down and check them, and keep sticking them in there and use little spacers. That's what I did. So there's the other one on the other side. Yeah, the middle, the doors, I used MDF in the middle just because it's stable, it doesn't warp. The painters, I tell them when you paint these, you got to paint both sides right away, but they don't. They paint one side and it sits there for a week, and then they wonder why the door's cupped to one side. So use MDF. It's less likely to happen. This is where I started trying to figure out these arcs. I made this router trammel, I guess, out of a couple sticks of wood. It took forever to figure that out, to get the curves right. This is part of the top. It's just plywood again, plywood carcass. But what I did with, I had to actually join pieces of plywood together to make bigger pieces of plywood. I didn't want to just put a butt joint together. So what I did is I used the same bit that I used to make the doors. I think it was a shaker style router bit set. You can see right here, you can kind of see the light. This is one piece of plywood, and that's another piece of plywood. And after this was glued and sanded, and then I put the iron-on strips and shaved those down. Once that was painted, you can't even tell. These shelves were made out of Baltic birch, again, with the iron-on strips on the front. And this is another use for the number 8. Before you iron this on, it's good to run the number 8 across it and make sure it is perfectly flat. Because if you just run it through the saw, you have all these blade marks and you got to get them out. And you'd be there all day with the saw trying to keep running it through. There's the tops in place. Those were a nightmare. We had to build a table in front of these, get them on the table, and then slowly slide them into place while pulling 4 wires through the sides. Yeah, that wasn't fun. And this is just me being a moron, because I don't know, I like hand planes. Once I found the use for them and see what you can do with them, they are really nice to have. I think this is the whole set, but I only used this one and this one. All the others I did not use. There's a couple more pictures of that. Yeah, then the tops are solid oak. We just bought a big piece of solid oak and threw it on there. Which it was getting painted, so I don't know why they went with oak. They should have just did something else. And there's all of the trim getting put on. Most of this is real trim, but all of this curved stuff is like this rubber. It's from like One Day Moldings or something. It's this rubber, it's like a rubber eraser stuff. It's kind of cool. I didn't even know they had that. And here's starting to get painted. Hardware. And here's the end result. With the lights in it. You can see all those gaps around those drawers and doors are nice. And I built these on site. I didn't do these in a wood shop. I did these right in that room. Which is pretty cool, and this was all battery tools too. I didn't use the table saw, battery, miter saw, battery, and 2 hand planes and a router. That's all it took. And here's another project that was on the same job. I just wanted to show, so I had to get solid oak and glue up a bunch of panels to make them bigger so I could make some nightstands. And all this wood was from Home Depot, so I'm sure you can imagine none of it was very straight. So after it was glued together, I had to flatten them. I was at this table after I had all the panels glued up. I was at this table for 4 hours just planing away. You should have seen the floor. I threw some on the table just to, get a good picture, but I filled like one of those huge trash cans full of shavings. And the blade on this Neilson, man, didn't quit. I didn't have to sharpen the blade once this whole job. It just kept going. And here's some couple of pictures of these nightstands. And this is what they were for. This is the master bedroom. Behind this wall, there's a little walk-in closet. The master bed goes right here on the wall, and they wanted 2 floating nightstands. So those came out pretty good. Not too bad. Now they're finished. And all right, here's another project in the same house. This is a shoe rack for the master bedroom closet. That wall that the 2 nightstands were hung on, behind that wall, they wanted to jam a shoe rack in, and literally it had to go around the studs. So these little channels that you see in the middle here, and this is all solid oak. This entire thing is solid oak. I had to make these little cutouts so that it could go around the studs in the wall, and there it is in the wall. That was an interesting one. So I didn't get a ton of pictures of these through the beginning stages, and I haven't got a finished picture of where they landed yet, but these are built-in dressers. These are kind of just roughly built. They're built into the wall over on the other side of the bedroom. I had to make 2 of these. Yeah, see the little alcove in the back there? There's an alcove on both sides of the room. We slid these in there and threw a top on it. And this is the job that really got me into woodworking. I mean, I was doing plumbing and heating for a while, and just, I don't know. It's not that enjoyable. So this I did down in my basement after they forced us into our houses. And no, I did not have the number 8 here. I really wish I did. This was part of the learning curve, I guess. This was basically just router and chisels. Oh yeah, that's another big one, is chisels. Those come in handy. Those are good to have, at least decent quality ones. There's the Superman symbol cut out of oak. There it is, glued into the maple. Yeah, see, at the time all I had was this Stanley jack and a Wood River number 4, which, I mean, that Wood River's a good plane. It's just, it's not a Nielson. These are from Veritas. These are just good for, like, if you wanted to get into inlays and stuff. These little router planes for getting into details and stuff, but it's not necessary for just building a regular old table. Here's the panel glue up. So each piece, all these little pieces are separate pieces of wood that I had to make sure that these seams were perfectly flat. So you could put some wood glue in between there and clamp it all up. And I had to do it in sections because it was too hard to line all these panels up at the same time and get it glued, because I didn't use biscuits. So it's literally just glue holding them together. So I did it in, multiple sections and then glued sections together. It took a little while. Then there's some plumber's putty I used to make a dam. And then I poured some bowling ball resin inside the Superman symbol just to, make it look cool. This is my first attempt ever trying to do hand-cut dovetails. I mean, it's fun doing it by hand, but I don't know. I think I'm just going to use the Honestly, I think I'm just going to use the jig from now on with the router. There's that again. And this is where we're starting to get it together. Yeah, I inlaid a piece of, this is oak and maple on the front, just so you didn't, you know, as you look at the front of the leg, I had to glue 2 pieces of maple together to make the leg. And there's that seam that runs down the middle, so I kind of was trying to make it look like I meant to do this with an inlay. Yeah, see, I didn't sand out my my score line there, but whatever, you learn. And here's the finished product up in the room. And after I made this, man, like, I saw that I could do it, I really got interested in woodworking, because it's very gratifying when you're done. It is really nice. Nice, calm work. Well, that's it for today, guys. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'm going to try to do sharpening next, because without knowing how to sharpen and what to get and just how to do it, if you don't know how to sharpen, the hand planes are pretty much useless. So, I mean, I think sharpening, you know, buy a hand plane and then sharpening stuff is very important. So we'll go over that next, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.